Hello, everyone. We just got news that Nechama's father is had a stroke, so we're going to
Oh,
dedicate
sorry. Oh,
the
mm,
class for his refuah shlema,
mm.
Daniel Newman, Toch Shar Cholei Israel. Um, so we are up to the parts of the actual adding things to a house, and then we'll continue on to the idea of ohel, which means a tent. So permanently affixing something useful to a house or the ground violates the Torah prohibition of boneh. Removing such fixtures violates the Torah prohibition of soter. This is the case even if the attachment is not tight and the objects can easily be detached and reattached, as in the case with hinged or sliding windows or doors. Since these are permanently attached to the house, they become part of it, and installing them or removing them is a transgression of a Torah prohibition. So just to clarify, we're not talking about moving them, meaning like if you have a sliding door to your balcony or backyard, you are allowed to move the door and open it, even though it's changing something in the structure. But removing it from that track is forbidden because of the soter. Therefore, even if a room is hot, one may not remove a window from the wall or from its frame. Similarly, one may not attach or detach a filter that is screwed onto a faucet, rubber pipes attached to the sink, or light bulbs screwed into their sockets, since their attachment to the house is permanent. So even if the light won't go on when you change the light bulb, it's still prohibited because of that, and you can just wait until after Shabbat to do so. Similarly, pounding a nail into the wall or gluing a hook to the wall violates a Torah prohibition, since these additions are permanent. One may similarly not attach curtain hooks to a curtain track or the curtains themselves to the hooks on the track. Fastening a curtain rod to brackets that protrude from the wall is also prohibited, even though all these attachments are loose. Since the items are being attached to the building, these actions are prohibited by Torah law, even if it was just because of what's called marit ain, because it looks like you're building, but really because you don't change your curtains every week. And maybe we do them twice a year for spring cleaning and fall cleaning. But and even if we don't remove the rod, but we remove the curtains, that is considered permanent. And so I don't know anybody that changes their curtains every week. But if there were, maybe that would have been less permanent. If the rod is not truly attached to the brackets, but rather simply rests upon or inside them, and can move back and forth easily, then the rod may be placed on the brackets. In such a case, one may also thread the loops at the top of the curtain through the rod. So what happens many times, especially when I was in staying in hotels, and I guess Shabbat is always, the worst things that happen on Shabbat, not because they're bad, because it's confusing, is you would pull the curtain and suddenly the rod will fall to the floor. So obviously it wasn't attached properly, so you are allowed to loop the curtain back onto it and put it back in that bracket. If the object being attached to the house or the ground will not last long, the prohibition is rabbinic. For example, it is only rabbinically forbidden to attach a vacuum hook to a wall, since its suction cup will not keep the hook anchored for long. When something that may not be attached to the ground or a house, it is also forbidden to tighten its existing attachment. Therefore, one may not tighten the loose screws of a sink, door handle, or closet handle. Um, in contrast, objects that are not really attached and do not become part of the house may be put up for or taken down. For example, one may hang a picture on a nail because the picture is not considered part of the wall. Um, I did not know that Rabbi Melamed is that lenient. I was always told that putting a picture on back onto a nail is forbidden, um, and so and I'll just have to trust that that's halacha. If a window breaks and cold wind is blowing through the house, the broken window may be covered with cloth to keep it out the wind. This is because the cloth does not become part of the wall, but it is placed there only temporarily. And so even when our uh, front door of the shul was smashed a year and a half ago, um, they were able to put plastic until the glass people came later in the night on Motzei Shabbat. Similarly, one may stick papers to a refrigerator using magnets because the magnets are not considered part of the refrigerator. For the same reason, one may hang a colander over the lip of the sink. Inserting a plug in a socket or removing it is also not considered bonel soter because the plug is not considered part of the house. But I don't know why you would be even wanting to put a plug in a socket, but maybe a cover for the plug because sometimes it could be dangerous for kids who will stick things in there that are not supposed to go there. It is self-evident that one may open and close doors, windows, and faucets. This is the case even when the door is not usually opened or when the faucet is in question is the water main, which is rarely shut off. Since they remain attached to the building and this type of opening or closing is the way they are normally used, it is not considered bonel soter. So one of the times, I'm not sure which winter it was, but for a very long time there wasn't rain, and one of the mikveh ladies found out there's supposed to be rain on Friday night, and so she was in the mikveh and she wanted to know if you're allowed to open the faucet so that the water will flow from the roof, and the answer is yes because of that, and also because it's a mitzvah to tovel in a kosher mikveh. Similarly, one may open and close a porch's sliding roof that is attached with hinges or that slides on a track, as long as it's not electronic, as it is considered the same as a window. It is prohibited by Torah law to use a nail or a screw to reattach a door handle that has fallen off. But we talked about kol hakelim nitalim. You're allowed to carry such a cupboard or a box, and even if the door is loose, because if you remember not to tighten it, then that's why it's allowed. Reattaching it without a nail or a screw in a way that joins the handles of both sides of the door to each other is rabbinically prohibited, since the attachment is only temporary. But if there's a case where something that's in the cupboard is dangerous, like rat poison or something like that, that is allowed, but with a shinui. In contrast, one may insert one of the two handles into the door without using nails or screws. This is not considered an attachment at all, since the handle is just resting there with nothing to support it. However, there is still concern that one might forget that it is Shabbat and decide to reattach it properly with nails. Therefore, the door handle should be replaced awkwardly, tilting upward or downward, so there is no concern that anyone will tighten the connection. A handle that has begun to come loose from its attachment to the corresponding handle may not be pushed back into place. So, as today is Erev Shabbat, I couldn't really find a good connection to the parsha, but one of the questions that the rabbis asked, and there's many answers, Rabbi Rosner this week actually suggested that somebody should write down all the different explanations why the Parashat HaMoadim, the paragraph about all the different holidays that are mentioned in the end of Parashat Emor, why it starts with Sheshet Yemim Ta'aseh Melacha, that we have to work for 6 days of the week and have Shabbat. Why is Shabbat considered like a chag, like a moed? And so the answer that Rabbi Rosner gave this week was very interesting, which is that if people didn't recognize that also every Shabbat is a special time to be with Hashem, like an appointment, then it would just become like the other days of the week, and then only the holidays would be special. So Hashem wanted to remind us that because we have to remember the Maaseh Bereshit, not only the Exodus of Egypt, which caused us to have most of the Jewish holidays, but to remind us of the creation in 6 days, then that's why it's mentioned as a moed. And he also reminded us of a very interesting law, which is that if somebody is on a shipwreck and he's on an island, or he's in a desert and he got sunstroke and he doesn't know when he woke up what day of the week it is, the Mishnah says that he makes his own Shabbat. So he works for 6 days, even if it's Tuesday to Monday to Sunday, and then Monday is his Shabbat, and then when he gets back to civilization, he goes back to the regular Shabbat that everybody else does. But in that way, even though it's a terrible situation to be in, if we lose track of time, we have the authority to say, this is my Shabbat. And I think it's a very good reminder. And so we'll stop here and wish everybody a very good Shabbos.